Hey entrepreneurs, I want to remind you of a recurring theme in these challenges. These weekly challenges are just little microdose opportunities for you to level up something you probably already understand, but I just want to challenge you to do it a little bit better all the time. So I'm going to read a quote to you that has to do with one of those recurring themes that comes up over and over again, which is being farsighted. It's actually the name of my YouTube channel, Farsighted Entrepreneur. I want you to be a more farsighted entrepreneur. Here's Andrei Sednev from his book, The Achievement Factory. However, Dr. Banfield discovered that the single factor that determined success was how far a person projects into the future while taking actions today. The least successful members of society, such as alcoholics or drug addicts, have the lowest time perspective. They are focused on short-term pleasures and make decisions about their actions taking into account only how their life might look in several hours. So if that's the case across society in general, how does that apply to you yourself when we contrast the best version of you versus the not so great version of you as an entrepreneur? How can you use that same concept that by having a longer time horizon, you'll start to make different kinds of choices about how you spend your time today? And one of those that I'm going to encourage you all to keep thinking about is slowing down to think, slowing down to create true prioritization before you dive in. Always asking yourself, how could I ratchet my success instead of just working harder? How can I create the space that I need as an entrepreneur to think of ways to reduce the degree to which my success and my progress in business is dependent on me just always showing up with the same level of high energy, acting as if you're a machine that can just operate endlessly without having any kind of downtime. Your reliability is not going to be perfect as a human, right? And so we want to be thinking, how can we build the processes and systems that make your business less of an owner-reliant business, the kind of business that is easier to exit, the kind of business that you're more excited to work on because it has infinite potential instead of having a cap. And there's many ways you can do this. It can be something as simple as just creating a process for yourself, for something you do on a recurring basis. It can be choosing to spend the time to start training somebody that you already have on your team to take one task off your plate. It can be something bigger, like deciding to hire an operations manager and spending the time to have them shadow you long enough to where they actually can do the work instead of saying, it would take too long. Consider that maybe it's worth the cost of 2 months of payroll where you really don't get anything out of it because they're just learning. But instead of seeing that as, I don't have time to train them, bring them in and have them just shadow you. The challenge this week is just to think of one thing. When you turn off this video in just a second, just pause for 1 minute. See if you can identify one thing that you could do differently in order to take a more far-sighted perspective in the way that you spend your time. Your actions will determine whether you're being far-sighted or not. And in order to create those actions, you need to slow down to think. Talk to you again next week.